So how might this all apply to the education of diverse students? In good classrooms, the dialogue extends in both directions. Previous works and future works are altered and influenced by the present dialogue. Heteroglossia, as demonstrated in the novel, is another's multiple ways of speaking in one's language, or it is another's multiple ways of seeing the world. You see, education is not just about the authoritative voice. Let's link these thoughts to this week's readings. As I have said, you will be bringing a definition of heteroglossia to class with you and the sources that were helpful to you. Be prepared to co-construct a group working definition of this term. Next, you will consider what you learned about the inclusion or exclusion of multiple voices of the students in this week's readings. Also consider how might the inclusion of these many voices enrich an educational setting. Think about the notion that heteroglossia is a concept that implies powerful relationships between societal voices, where some voices are heard and valued, and some voices are invalidated and unheard in mainstream society, in which case marginalized groups create safe spaces for valued self-expression through their use of language. The struggle, in this sense, is over feeling equally valued and equally validated as a human being. When we think about issues of equity in the classroom, we realize that it has often been noted that classrooms are simply microcosms of society, and the same inequities that exist outside of it tend to exist within classrooms to the same effect that schools often recreate the very inequities that exist in the larger society. Therefore, when we think about issues of equity in the classroom, in our increasingly diverse society, we realize that the role of the teacher is very important. Thus, teachers must grasp the importance of the concept of heteroglossia as they plan for the inclusion of diverse voices and perspectives in their culturally and linguistically complex classroom. Your assignment is to write a short reflection on how you would go about including the voices represented in your articles in the classroom if you were the classroom teacher. Be prepared to discuss your readings in groups during the next class meeting and how you would include those voices in a classroom lesson. Notice that there are many dialects and registers represented in our society. Here are some of the dialects of English in the United States and abroad. Do you feel that African American vernacular English is a case of heteroglossia? Please explain your answer. Since most teachers won't allow students to use African American vernacular English in their schoolwork, they mark it as incorrect. Is it a conflicting discourse within the linguistic code called academic English? Is it a form of linguistic diversity? Is it a coexisting language within a language? Does it exist within a state of tension? Jot down your responses to these questions and submit them to Dropbox. Then move on to assignment 2. This is an individual assignment. It consists of developing an action plan. First, you will visit the field site that you have been visiting this quarter. Rather than to meet in your regular class for this week, you will visit your field site this week with this assignment in mind. Describe the different voices that are present in your field site. If you refer to a different student or individual in your response, please use a pseudonym for each person. Today, you will craft a vision for including heteroglossic voices and perspectives in the classroom. You should consider the question, have you observed the inclusion of heteroglossic voices in your observations? Come up with a lesson plan that the teacher could use to begin including or expanding their inclusion of heteroglossic voices in their classroom. Next week, we will gather into groups based on one of the articles you selected, and you will share the lesson that you designed. Each small group will select one of the lesson plans from their group that they think best demonstrates the inclusion of the concept of heteroglossia, and they will briefly share that lesson plan with the larger group. Thank you. This concludes today's online class. See you in class next week.